Right, AP of the day 11. I tried recording this last night, but I had terrible hiccups, so it was actually impossible. Went to bed. Here I am. So yeah, I said I was going to be in All or Nothing. We're not on an All or Nothing. We're actually in Path of Fire Act 3. As you can see here, I don't have it complete. I've got 17 of 19 objectives. It's a full-on achievement that will give me 15 points and has an Ascended Amulet on it. So it's like a main achievement you should be going for. However, if you looked at the list there of the things I need to do to complete it, it's full. I've got everything. So what's actually going on is there's 2 hidden achievements in the game. And hidden achievements are really obscure things that are like super bonusy in nature, right? There's 2 hidden achievements in the final act of Path of Fire. But for some reason, the devs rolled them in on the meta. So if you don't get those hidden achievements, you're left in this really lost place. I think it's a terrible idea. I don't know. And this is the only example I've ever seen of that actually happening in Guild Wars. And I was really left scratching my head. So normally I don't really want to look up details about achievements before I go for them. But on this I had to. I really just wanted all the main Path of Fire story stuff done. With us having done Keen Eye the other day, this is now the last I need. So yeah, that's the idea. And what I learned from looking it up, by the way, isn't the Garden of Saborin freaking gorgeous? What I learned was that one of the hidden achievements I'm missing is the Balthazar fight, where the task is to defeat Balthazar without Sahothin. So you're going to realize it's not all that bad, the fact that these are hidden achievements, because actually, once I get into this instance here, to kill a god, the finale, you're going to see I do have an active effect on me that clearly says, hey, beat Balthazar without using Sahothin. And I guess what's actually maybe going on, for this one at least, because there's 2 achievements we're going to get today. The other one's really simple, but we'll get to that topic later. I think the thing that might be happening is they hid it from the UI because it's a spoiler. You know, to use the word Balthazar and to use the word Sahothin. How would you describe this achievement? No, what am I talking about? You could describe this achievement without spoiling, couldn't you? Anyway, so I'm not sure why it's hidden, but once you get in the mission, it's pretty plain what it is. And as well, having now remembered, once I'd looked it up, I do recall seeing that this thing was, you know, this was an option. So the final boss without Balthazar, without Sahothin, this is the idea. And I'm playing Necro. I actually really regret playing Necro on this video. This is kind of a bit more of a casual series, so I don't know how much I should really obsess over. But it would have been really cool if I'd played a very different build, a build you guys haven't seen. You know, what if we played a Berserker, a Warrior Berserker? I'd love that, you know, especially because of the whole Balthazar connection thing. Then we used Bond of Faith to actually close a gap that wouldn't have been possible before in the Brandstorm and climb up the Sky Gun. But yeah, so it would have been really cool to do a different build. Instead, I'm just on this Reaper again. And in fact, I don't remember how difficult this is, so I run Blighter's Boon and just the full hog tank side that you saw me doing the bounties. That's not necessary. I could have ran a much more DPS heavy oriented version of this and been fine. So unfortunately, I had dialogue volume on as well and didn't mute it, so you guys aren't actually going to be able to hear the fight proper. We'll have to put some music on in the background. Though the dialogue is awesome. So yeah, let's have a relook at the Balthazar fight. You know, post All or Nothing, I suppose. And it was pretty fascinating for me to come back here and look at this. The sequence, the fight is actually much higher frame rate than I remember it being. A lot cleaner than I remember it being as well. My recollection of this boss was that it was absolutely chaotic and insane. I don't know whether it's just because of the build I'm playing, but it felt so clean and smooth and comfortable. I mean, it obviously looks intense and epic and super badass, but I don't know, something about playing it right now, it just wasn't as mind-meltingly crazy as before. I'm pretty sure I still have post-processing on and stuff. So I actually gained a lot of respect for this fight coming back to it now at the start of 2019. There was just so much to think about, and maybe it's because the first time I played it, I was, you know, thinking about everything Balthazar was saying at the same time. And now I'm like purely focused on the fight. Maybe using Sahothin clutters the screen up with a lot of other stuff, possibly. Or maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm more used to kind of intense, crazy battles now that they're more regular in the game, coming off of the back of the Kralkatorrik fight and stuff. Obviously, there's a big difference between doing something blind, but as you see me here, right at the start of this fight, I don't really remember everything that Balthazar does. I'm just looking at the ground tells to see what's going on. So yeah, and you got the what was it called? The War Machine? I can't remember even what his machine is called that he tried to kill Kralkatorrik with, and he caught Aurene inside. It is kind of an emotional thing as well, so spoilers for the most recent release, because we are fighting alongside Aurene quite a lot, and there's quite a lot of dialogue and mechanics specifically about fighting alongside her. I actually think that when we're talking pure mechanics here and game design, as a function of having you bond with Aurene in an epic battle, this is the kind of gameplay that would have better served the Kralkatorrik fight, right? So we fight Kralkatorrik, then Aurene is defeated by him, right? So what would have been best to do with the Kralkatorrik fight? Not that the Kralkatorrik fight was bad or anything, but if we just, we just try and think about these things. This Balthazar battle handled that would have been so good if it was in that style, because we're so often relying on it. She gives us immunity. She sets up burn phases for us. There's moments where we have to free her from CCs. She just does so much interaction between us. And in the Kralkatorrik fight, she kind of does a lot of that stuff too, yes. But she's more in the background, right? She's not. It's not ludonarrative. She's not actually interacting with the mechanics of the game. She's just purportedly helping us a lot because she's got Kralkatorrik distracted, even though that doesn't manifest into actual skill execution or anything. So yeah, anyway, that was something I thought, and if she died after such a I think basically what I would be most an advocate for, because obviously it's really hard to do a Kralkatorrik fight like the Balthazar one, because Kralkatorrik's so big. What I think I'd be most an advocate for is throughout all of this Living World season we just did, episode 1 through 4 and 5 actually, what we should have had is these mechanics where we're picking up these barrier orbs from her and stuff. They should have been happening more, I think, in more fights. I think that just to really hammer home what these mechanics were and the combo moves with her and stuff, we should have taken more opportunities to do it. The devs obviously did have her swooping in a lot, even in open world, to, not brand stuff, just to use her beams on things. Maybe they could have had her dropping these pickups and stuff a bit more, because I like these mechanics, and I think they were a little bit too in the background. This way they could still be in our mind, and the Kralkatorrik fight wouldn't necessarily have to change too much. So, speaking about my skill utilization and stuff here, obviously the main draw without Sahothin is that it's going to take a lot longer. That's about it, because Sahothin just does a lot of damage, so you can't kind of burst him in these burn phases so much. So yeah, the ads are really nice because they give me life force and do absolutely nothing. I found it interesting that they were Hounds of Balthazar, even though Tamar and Tagon are gone from the story at this point. So the devs wanted their cake and they ate it too, because they just created, these mechanical hounds that he's building. And I think that's fine. That's cool. Here I was happy to get a Leeching Bolts combo, but it's really not relevant. So he's got this charge telegraphed by the long line, the arrow, and that's easy. Here he does his big burst, but I can get invulnerability from Aurene. I can't remember, but does something here buffs our damage, isn't it? If you collect enough of Aurene's orbs, it buffs your damage. I wasn't actually thinking about that here. You get the flame hammers, which I honestly can't remember what they do in this fight. I really can't. Do they just pulse out damage? It looks like they do like plus signs of damage. Then you got this big jump ability, which is a really satisfying ability to dodge through the shockwave. Really satisfying, but I'm terrible at it and I'm not thinking about it much, and I'm kind of cringing looking at the footage here because I've been hit by it so often and it's such an easy thing. You guys know I'm a big advocate for restructuring of the personal story, early game RPG leveling mechanics and tutorialization in the game. I'm a huge advocate for that stuff. I've ranted for hours and hours and hours and well, not ranted, decidedly and precisely spoken about intelligent things the devs should do. Let me describe it that way, about that kind of stuff. And one of the things I would love the game to do and the early story beats to do is to teach players like me very early what these wave mechanics are and how to dodge them and how to have fun with them, because they are so fun. I could just feel the endorphins coming when I dodged this properly. Like there, that was incorrectly dodged. But if you do it right, it's brilliant. And I think if in our formative experiences of the game, people were more familiar with it, there's a good one. The devs could use this on so many more boss fights without it just feeling frustrating, because you're constantly CC locked and you're not really equipped with the tools to understand why, right? So yeah, anyway, what else does he do? He charges. We already talked about that. He's got just kind of these kinds of abilities here, which are really beautiful. The artistry behind the ground target tells is actually quite impressive. I think a lot of RPGs and a lot of games use ground target tells as a tool to just, show where an attack's coming. But you notice, especially with one of these Balthazar's attacks, they're all curvy and wavy, and they cascade down. It's like there's a lot of artistry there, as I say, that I think is actually kind of cool about this fight. They're all very easy to dodge. Just don't panic and just move ever so slightly each time. And you'll be fine. And you'll notice I'm pretty much at constant life force here. So here's another mechanic. He's got a dire shield generator, and we have to break that because he's invulnerable otherwise. Earlier also you saw, I thought I was standing in Aurene vulnerability, and he managed to knock me out of it anyway, so not sure what's going on with that. I think one of his other really irritating things is one of his ground targets makes you think you're going to be safe from it because it's one of his ground, you know, the telegraphs on the ground. You think you're going to be safe because you're not standing in any of the orange, but he also has just a straight up like knockback in front of him, and I think you can get hit by it sometimes anyway or something. So anyway, I'm just cleaving through. My main fear right now is that I'm going to miss the achievement because halfway through the fight, accidentally, I did equip Sahothin when I was trying to do a combo move with Aurene. I didn't use any of his Sahothin's skills, but I did accidentally equip it. I still have eligibility, but we don't know for sure whether I'll get it in the end. Anyway, so there you go. Here's the end, and we get some cool dialogue. I'll let you guys listen. It's pretty epic. Doesn't this feel familiar?
Aurene, look out! Ah! Aurene! No! Aurene!
And so there you go. Yeah, it's a cool thing to look back at. I'm curious as to why they did remove the user interface in this section of the game. Right as you come out of the cutscene, you have no UI. Then they add it back. I think that they used the no UI technique in the most recent episode. They probably could have with Balthazar here as well, with the Kralkatorrik bit here as well. And yeah, of course, the dialogue here talking about how... Oh no, we'll see some dialogue in a second where we're conversing with Taimi. And we point out that Kralkatorrik got the majority of Balthazar's magic. That's what the player commander actually observes. And so seeing that piece of information here, getting this achievement today, was actually quite useful for me to look back at the most recent release where we see the giant Kralkatorrik attack and Balthazar's there in the attack. My interpretation was that was Balthazar defending us, but clearly it wasn't him defending us. Here at the end of POF, they even say he got the majority of Balthazar's stuff, and so that's why you see Balthazar so prominently there in one of his big attacks there. Yeah, Kralkatorrik looking absolutely mammoth in the sky there. He actually looks like he's got the new CRISPR-like texturing and modeling or whatever from the most recent release a bit there. You see more of his body, which looks completely different compared to the most recent release. You notice he's got like those energy lines, so they kind of changed that a bit, I think. Anyway, so yeah, and in that cutscene, we did get the ding of the achievement. You heard the sound effect there. So there you go. That's the main thing of the video. However, there was another hidden achievement, and this, while maybe we can forgive the Sahothin one because of spoilers and because, you know, it is telegraphed when you're actually in the instance, and it's just kind of your job as a player to remember that. It's a bit clunky, I would still argue, but, you know, maybe we can forgive it. This extra little thing at the end, which is my final achievement, has none of that going for it. It's an achievement where you need to dance at the party here at the end of the story. And I've spent a lot of time in this instance. I love this instance. There's so much dialogue, so much cool stuff to do. I in no way disparage this instance. But because there's so much to do, it never occurred to me to dance anywhere. There's no achievement suggesting this, icon on our buff bar suggesting we've got an achievement to go for. So if I just skip ahead here, we were talking to Timey. There's a lot of dialogue you have to sit through on this. This is one of those ones where the story ends up feeling like a bit of a chore, just because you have to spend so long waiting around. But once finally the dialogue's done, as you can see here, you're going to come over to this dance stage in the south of the room and just dance. And there you go. You get Saturday Night Fever. And for me, that was the conclusion of Path of Fire Act 3 Masteries. I've now done... not Mastery. The achievement meta is called Mastery of the Act, though. I've now done every single achievement associated with a story instance in Path of Fire. It took me about a year and a half to do. I was pretty much done a lot earlier than this, save for Keen Eye, which I thought was totally broken, and 2 I didn't even know how to get. But there you have it. We get our amulet, and that's AP of the day for today, guys. I thought it was pretty cool. Hope you enjoyed. See you tomorrow.